Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 2019 Media Borough Council meeting. Please stand with me and join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Pleasure being here on a day where it did not rain, which is unusual. It's spring. We've actually had a spring this year, which is unusual. We have several housekeeping matters that we should tick off. We have 3 sets of meeting minutes. The first is for a special meeting that was held on April 4th. That meeting was with regard to submission of a grant application for enhancements at the Plum Street Mall. Do I hear a motion to approve the special meeting minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the April 4, 2019 special meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. On that same day, we had our normal workshop meeting, and of course, we have a set of meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve those meeting minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the workshop meeting minutes for April 2019 as submitted, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. And item number 3 is our council meeting minutes from April 18, 2019. Do I hear a motion to approve those as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving council meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Before we get to public comment and privilege of the floor, it's my duty to announce that at the end of the workshop meeting that was held a couple of weeks ago, we had an executive session concerning a couple of property matters. All right, so we are now at the time where we have public comment and privilege of the floor. If there's anyone here who wishes to address council, please come to the microphone, tell us who you are, where you live, and what's on your mind.
Hello everyone, this is Marcia Tate. I'm at 319 West 3rd Street in Media, and I'm here representing the Friends of Glen Providence Park. And I passed out to all of our members here our latest Arts in the Park flyer. I have some extras over here, and I think we have some upstairs. We are just announcing our creative events this summer, starting in June. We have the Academy of International Ballet. This is all taking place down at Glen Providence Park on the stage. On July 13th, Bertie Bush. On the 17th of August, the Bickle Brothers Band. And September the 7th, Bill Riccini, I think it is, of Summer Fiction. These events take place at 5 o'clock every Saturday afternoon on the Saturday afternoon until about 6:30. And then, of course, people can walk into town and have a lovely dinner. In addition to that, I have our bookmarks, which list some of the events that we have left this year. And after the concert series ends in September, we have our National Public Lands Day. And what we do then is plant something in the park, whether we're restoring a stream or just adding to the beauty or enhancing wildlife habitat. That's what we do, and we invite the public to come and help us out. They can go to our website, glenprovidencepark.org, to find out more information about any of those things. And then for those of you who are a little bit of a curmudgeon like I am, on the Friday after Thanksgiving, instead of going out and spending a lot of money, you can come down to the park for a green walk. We're going to be doing some interesting things on Friday, and then you can come into the town, and on Saturday, for Small Business Saturday, you can spend your money there. How's that sound? And then we wrap up the year with the Christmas bird count, which we do every year. So we are all volunteer, and we have plenty of opportunities for people who would like to volunteer. We have a conservation crew every Friday morning that Stephanie Gaborio leads up, and we'd love to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcia.
Marcia, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Over here, this way. The old White Oak Stone, I drove by the other day, and happened to peer at it. I wondered, I imagine you've been thinking about it, but if you haven't, it seems like an opportunity to do something neat.
with that
What's
stuff.
left of that thing?
Absolutely. We've been talking with the park, and as you know, we do a lot of, in fact, Stephanie and I were just at the county parks office on Wednesday. We were talking about some of the events that we have coming up and some of the things that we'd like to do in the park. And we had talked about doing some fun things with that. It's just, yes, absolutely, because it's, so, you know, we were all in tears when we lost that beautiful tree. And we actually talked to them to save it like that. They were going to take it down. We asked them to leave it in the state that it's in. We talked about possibly putting a little roof on it. So we'll see where it goes, but everything takes time and money and volunteers, so we could use them. So thank you, that's a good point.
All right, thank you, Marcia. I'll make a prediction that we'll have either snow or freezing rain on December 14th, because that's usually what accompanies Christmas bird count, but neither rain nor snow.
That's right.
All right, anybody else wish to address council this time, please come to the microphone, tell us who you are, where you live, and what's on your mind.
Michael Straw, 499 West Jefferson Street, Apartment 507. I first want to just remind everybody that Election Day will be coming on May 21st, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. The polls will be open. Republicans and Democrats for their primary elections, and for those that are viewing from anywhere else in the county, independent voters can vote in Middletown, Marple, and I believe all of Borough. So get out and vote, and we'll see you at the polls. I had a couple of questions. The first question I had is in regards to the county's parking lot. I had noticed that there was a large amount of fencing that had gone around the parking area. And so I also noticed that 2nd Street had actually just opened up, which is nice. But the fencing is along, it's over essentially the sidewalk, and so I was wondering what had happened. Who approved that essentially, and why it was approved in such a manner. It's a little bizarre, actually.
Sure.
Kind of broke into that, but
Yeah.
I do believe you're talking about the fencing at the county garage
Yes.
and the sidewalk. That was the case initially, but I was there and it's off the sidewalk.
It is now?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was over there yesterday and I saw it was over. It's good that it's off now. It was a little hard to use the sidewalk when there's a fence there.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure what the rationale was. It was probably something relating to the county, not necessarily the borough.
Okay, thank you. At least now we can all use the sidewalks there. My second question is in regards to the parking deck at Olive Street. In regards to the bids that we're seeing tonight, first I wanted to see when, if possible, we were looking to possibly do the repairs for this reconstruction.
Paul?
I will be glad, I mean, we do not have an exact date. We moved very quickly on this. I am anticipating, and again, we hadn't approved the bid, so you can't go out and talk to the individuals until the bids have been approved. I am hoping sometime in June that we can probably, get, when I say June, not June 1, but more like latter part of June, that they will start doing work on the garage.
Okay. My second question in regards to third. Thank you. Oh my. Well, second in regards to the parking deck. Gotcha. For the parking deck, my question is, in terms of the repairs, are some of them going to be the same from 2014, or is it mainly different? Because I remember at the Public Works meeting that I had attended that some of the repairs are like new, essentially.
You're saying new. Yes, the overwhelming majority of the work is newer work. Work that was done in 14. There are some areas that would be more cosmetic, that would need a touch up here and there. But and again, I just got the report earlier today, is that the vast majority of the work that was done in 14 was fine. Some areas of cosmetic, some areas of caulking would need to be redone. They would be the type of things that when we move forward, if this bid is awarded tonight, that would be part of annual maintenance.
Okay. My third question is, I heard at the last meeting that annual maintenance is going to be a factor for this parking deck in the near future. Obviously, if this plan were to be voted on tonight and agreed, that there would be a 3-step process over 2 to 3 years. Would there just be a trigger in some way every year that money for the maintenance be added for each budget, or is it we just have to remember it essentially?
No, I mean, I would, now that we are aware of the maintenance requirements and how the maintenance on the garage enhances and improves the longevity of the garage, we would definitely be putting it in our budget. It's not like we don't have the funds for it, so again, it would be earmarked each year. They reference in conversation a high number of 30, but more like a realistic number of 15. So it's going to be somewhere in between there. But with the repairs as discussed at prior work or council meeting and workshop, that by doing the repairs as suggested and then continuing with maintenance, the garage has a 20-25 year to go. So.
Okay, and then would the repairs for this possibly increase the amount of parking that the parking deck could take on? So essentially, the parking that's currently there now, imagine it's all open. Would there be an increase in parking stalls? Obviously, with renovations, the parking deck could be newer in terms of design.
No, because you're not redesigning anything.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only one way to stripe it efficiently,
Yeah.
it's already been done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my final question on the parking deck
No,
is...
it's a big subject.
It is, and my final question then would be, was it considered possibly to just redo the whole thing? Essentially, I understand there's costs, but the borough does have a sizable amount in terms of finances. You said it yourself, you've been doing a great job at that.
There was conversation, I think but in this day and age, a single parking place is about, and I've got engineers and architects in the room, about $20,000. So, parking space.
That's correct.
So it would be a significant cost, plus also the demolition cost to taking it down. And I think a cost factor that many people forget about is, what are we going to do when we don't have any parking garage?
Paul,
Because
just
right
do the
now-
math on our current garage. How many spaces are there now?
230, so it's
Times 20,000?
4.6 million plus
Thank you.
demolition cost, which basically is our entire capital fund.
Yeah.
And if there was different times, we might have thought more about it, but to be very candid, we are limited with parking right now because of the situation with the county. And that's going to be a 4 or 5 year project. So, if we had 0 multi-level parking garages in the borough, there would be a parking issue. So I think we are being very smart with a little bit of maintenance, or a little bit of repairs and maintenance. I think the garage will be there for some time. Historical studies have shown that the parking garage until recently has never been at full capacity. So there's always been, some room for additional cars. And there's also been conversation that, if we were to embark in a parking garage, it would be better suited economically for both the use for the location of a different section of town than having it right there at Olive Street. Plus, where it is right now, we could not really go up any higher than what we have now with the way the size of the property is.
One follow-up, in regards to the repairs, if that is voted on tonight, which it looks like it will be, will, one, certain areas be closed off, and two, if they are, will we at least make sure that the public knows where and when those areas are closed off? That's my
There
final
will be
question.
areas that will be closed off, of course, in anything when you're doing any kind of renovation or construction. And as we did in the past, we will make sure that residents are notified. Last time, I believe we had it on the website as well as signage down there. But as we all know, I just came from a meeting tonight where someone referenced that they had on the website, letters mailed to every home, phone calls mailed to every home, and 5 people stood up and said, I have never heard of this before. So we've all been down that road. No matter how hard we try to communicate, there'll be someone who'll come in and say they didn't know about it. But we do the best that we can do to make sure our residents and our businesses are aware.
All right, thank you, Paul. Do you have anybody else who wishes to address council at this time? Seeing that there are no further takers, we'll move along to the engineer's report. Before, Mr. Matthew, before you address that, do you think this would be an appropriate time for you to talk a little bit about the work that Aqua is doing on Providence Road over the next several months?
Certainly, Mr. President. I'm very thankful to both the Borough Council and the Upper Providence Township Council who worked together to make sure that Aqua was going to be doing the work at night so that it wouldn't interfere with our daily operations here in town. We have enough difficulty with our transportation system as it is, so Aqua was cooperative that they would work at night, which is great news. So my understanding is they're doing a series of replacements of some either aging or problematic water mains, and that work is going to continue along Providence Road. This was a bit of a pop-up on their capital plan. We do maintain active communication with Aqua throughout the year because we have a series of capital projects that we do, and I like to maintain a 6-month window, a 12-month, and an 18-month window of all the utility companies, including Aqua, Pico, and anybody who's out there digging up the streets to make sure that we're using our tax dollars intelligently. This one popped up, so I trust again that they had some concerns about the integrity of their road, but over the course of the next several weeks, you'll see construction crews out there, if you're out there at reasonable hours.
My information is that the project is scheduled to continue through September, and that there will be final road resurfacing sometime after that. During the project, the road closure will be from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's right.
So there are different traffic patterns because the Providence Road will be closed off from Monroe to Kirk Lane.
That's correct.
And for those folks who aren't aware of it yet, you soon will be. During the evening hours, there's going to be a change in traffic patterns because of the road closure on Providence Road from North Monroe Street over to Kirk Lane.
I think on the Borough website, there's information that was provided from Aqua. I thought it was helpful. If I can work with them and see if there's any additional mapping or any additional plans that would really help visualize what the project scope will look like. But I think they've done a decent job, at least, of trying to communicate where they were going to land when they finally decided what they were doing.
Thank you, Mr. Madden.
Second thing, Mr. President, is the 2019 road program. We have finally received the supplemental information that's required to move forward with the road resurfacing project for this year. The contractor, Chipoloni, is aware of the timetable of the immediate 5-miler, which is June 21st, so that, again, if depending on where they land, they're just made aware that their crews are not to interfere with any of the festivities surrounding our annual foot race. I did want to give a special word of thanks. So we had a number of recent raid events, and during raid events we were able to go out and take a closer look at the stormwater management system in the Olive Street Ridge Road area. A lot of those neighbors were very, very helpful in opening their yards, opening their properties to having some inspection and taking a really closer and more detailed look at some of the way that the flow lands out there. So it was very, very helpful. So if you're a neighbor and you're probably watching out on Olive Ridge Road, I just want to say thank you very much. Very, very thankful. And you have a lot of dogs. That's all I have, Mr. President.
You know them all by name. Does anybody have any questions for the borough engineer? We'll move along then to the solicitor's report. Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have anything to report tonight.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Scott at this time? Hearing none, we'll move along to the mayor's report. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, let's see, the police report, there were 782 complaints in the month of April. I think I read this at the workshop meeting, but anyways, on April 20th, there was a subject seriously under the influence of an unknown substance that barged into a home, first entering the porch and then the front door, and the victim was able to force the actor outside in the direction of the flight. And Officer Helmbauer located him, chased him, and got him. I also asked Richie Light, who's the officer related to investigations, to put together a summary of all the problems that we now have in the borough as far as drugs go. And every year it's something new and it gets worse and worse. So I'm not going to read all this, but it is in your packet. You ought to take a look at it. I'm just going to read a couple of the parts that he sees are really bad problems. First, he talks about the issue of marijuana and the drug dealers between the ages of 14 and 16. And that's the average age of what they are. He talks about the changes in marijuana, which I'm not really, I can't really address that. But apparently it's a whole new high-quality part that's making it even worse. His next spot is the communities have a soft spot for those that are suffering, and crime without punishment, that's his opinion, will create more crime. The one thing that took me, a couple things that took me, was the social studies apps. Middle school and high school students are way ahead of the adults when it comes to the use of social studies apps. Drug dealers are blasted via text, Snapchat, or Instagram for quick new customer sales. Most known customers will just text their friends who are dealers. Today, the savvy dealers are using apps, so no money is exchanged, kind of like Uber. Parents must creep or look. What he's saying basically is parents really have to take a role here and start looking, like in their kids' rooms, I guess. And next, the last part is where the county seat. All the county agencies have an office in the borough. Every person who's committed a crime may at some point travel to Media Borough for a trial or to see an attorney or to visit probation, patrol, etc. We also have numerous bars, which of course is a meeting spot for the users or dealers. And it goes on in this. So please take a look at it, and he lists all the arrests that we've had lately. Without going to the more pleasant part. Memorial Day, that's a week from next Monday. We have one band. It begins at 10 o'clock on Monday morning, Memorial Day. The weather is always 75 to 80. And it starts at 10 and is usually over by 11:15. We're one of the few that still hold Memorial Day, so we get a lot of press coverage. So for our very short parade, the press makes it look like it's much larger than Veterans Day, which of course it is not. I've had 3 proclamations in the last couple of weeks. One was the proclamation of Children's Mental Health Awareness Week, and another one was on the proclamation of laughter, World Laughter Day, which I attend every year. So for about half hour or 45 minutes, I laugh quite a bit. Of the other proclamations, next week, that was pretty funny, wasn't it? Next week...
Did someone laugh?
Next week, next Wednesday, I think it is, will be the 125th anniversary of the Media Women's Club. They'll be having a luncheon at Fellini's, and they have pretty good attendance, and they welcome anybody else that wants to join. It started in 1894, and again, it will be at the Townhouse the afternoon of the...
Townhouse?
No, I'm sorry, Fellini's. Thank you, sir. Sir, you're really on the ball tonight, aren't you? You caught one of
Close
those.
to the townhouse.
She was paying attention.
Yeah. You're the one paying attention, okay. So I think that's everything. Any questions?
Are there any questions for the mayor? Hearing none. We'll move along to the council committee reports. Councilman Robinson, Properties, Public Works, and Fire.
Okay, maybe tonight's meeting will be a little bit shorter than last month's meeting. So I'll start with the agenda items. First on the agenda is for the advertisement for bids for a new roof for a fire company. For those that may not know, the borough actually owns the fire company, so we are responsible for the outside of the building while the fire company takes care of the inside of the building. It is a product of the early 70s where flat roofs were the in thing. So it is time that we need to replace it. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that We go out to bid, we're using Penn bid again. Kevin, do you know? Excuse me, I apologize.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, yes, I mean, it's the new modern way of going out to bid, so we will go out to bid for Penn bids. I'd like to make a motion, we authorize our solicitor, engineer, and manager to prepare and generate advertisements for a new roof for the media fire company.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
There is. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of having Mr. Smith, aided by appropriate others, to prepare documentation so that we can advertise for bids for a new roof at the firehouse, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. And Paul, just don't mean to interrupt.
No.
I think you said that we don't own the fire company.
We do own the fire company.
We own the building, right?
We own the building. They take care of the interior, we take care of the exterior.
That's why it's a fire company as opposed to a fire department.
Right.
Paul, me. They've been having trouble for years with the roof. Who's like handling the specs? I mean, it'd be nice to like spend maybe a little bit more to make it last a little longer maybe or something?
We can look, I mean, I'm not an engineer, we can look into that, but I do believe that part of it is the nature of the beast.
The design,
It's
where
a
the
flat
scuppers
roof,
are and
the way
stuff?
the scuppers are, they keep, and I will say, it's been done like twice since we have been around, and every time it has significantly gotten better,
Oh, good.
where there's less places. So, it's also just the fabric, for lack of better words. I know it's some sort of a rubber membrane. That technology keeps getting better each year. I mean, when it was first done, it was literally, tar and pitch up there, and now it's a rubber membrane. So it is getting better, but it is a product of when it was built, how it was built, and there's tons of buildings around that are having the same type of problems. But if our chair of finance, keep that in mind, Kevin and Mr. Smith, when we're going out to bid. So,
I'll take a note. I know that there were lessons learned in the previous iterations of the firehouse and the media theater, which
Yes.
historically has had challenges with its roof. So again, there's a lot of ideas we'll incorporate, and then also the sensitivity about the solar panel arrays.
yes,
So how that sequence is going to be done will all be baked into the specifications.
always interesting to challenge, so we appreciate that. Next on the list is a housekeeping matter. You got it.
It's a good one.
This is referencing a new cleaning service for the borough. We've had the other one for several years, and they've just kind of decided to move on to other things. The borough received, let's see, 4 different bids, and I'd like to make a motion that we approve the bid for Enago Cleaning Systems. It is for 1 day a week, $896 a month, or about $10,000 a year. It is significantly less than our current vendor. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that we enter into an agreement with Enago Cleaning System.
Motion is made, it has been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of awarding cleaning services for the Borough Hall complex to Enago Cleaning Systems, the amount of $896 per month, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
And the next on my agenda is for a proposal to award a bid for the wall on Orange Street. It's the section of Orange Street when you're going down and it starts to curve off and where Centennial Avenue kicks in. We actually put this out to bid last year, approved the bid, and the contractor, I'll politely say, was not able to find the time to come back and do the project. So we're going back out again, and therefore I'd like to make a motion that we approve the bid for the repair of the wall on Orange Street to Brookmeyer Land and Hardscaping, referencing the date of 4/10/19, with a total cost of $3,800. One note I would like to make is that we do need to talk to this individual because he referenced us as Media Township. So that starts off as a no-no, but joking. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve this contract for the $3,800 for the repair of our wall on Orange Street.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion
Mr. President,
concerning the motion?
just one quick note. Mr. Robinson said that it went out to bid. That is not entirely accurate. This fell under the threshold for bidding procurement, so this
I'm
was
sorry, I apologize,
obtained.
yes.
Just to make sure that it's accurate for the record. It was obtained, I think 3 telephone bids were sent out. So we didn't have an actual contract. There was no maintenance, performance, bond, anything like that with the previous contract. It was really, we went out for 3 bids the first go around, and the guy was able to do the job, so that's why we're here.
I apologize, and we did go out to bid, 3 telephones. So.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing no call for any other questions. All those in favor of awarding the bid for repair of the wall on Orange Street to Brookmeyer Land and Hardscaping in the amount of $3,800, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes, and Paul, you are right. We are fiercely proud of our quirky boroughness. We are not a township.
Does one thing that does drive me crazy. Well, one of the many things. You didn't have to agree so quickly, Lisa. Last on my agenda is what we've all been talking about, is awarding the bid for the repairs and of our Olive Street parking garage. We did receive 2 bids, one from Huddock Infrastructure and another one from Structure Care, also known as High Concrete. Structure Care came in as the lower bid with regards to, this is almost like I guess the best way to describe this is it's a variety of different areas in which we can have work done. Both contractors provided pricing for it, but we're not required to do all of it. To give a couple examples is there's lighting in there, there's stormwater issues in there that we will not necessarily have to do. If we went and took every single item which was provided on our requests, it would be about 1.6 million. But the work in which we're doing is for significant repairs, updates, and things like that. And so that would be a grand total of $966,850, done in 3 different phases in which we can determine the phases. But phase 1, without a doubt, is the most work and of course the most costly. And that would be $642,650. The second phase would be $234,250, and phase 3 would be $89,950. So for a little bit under $1 million, and then recognizing maintenance moving forward, we should be able to have our Olive Street garage for at least the next 20-25 years. So I make a motion that we enter into an agreement with High Concrete for maintenance and repairs on the parking garage as referenced, in their letter of May 16th, or from their bid of May 16th, with a total project amount of $966,850.
Second.
Motion's been made and has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
You said High Concrete, that's right?
Structure
Care or High Concrete Corp.
So, the same thing?
Yes,
The
AKA.
corporation is High Concrete. They do business as Structure Care.
Thank
So
you.
it's clear, very clear.
Thank you. Paul?
Yes.
How is this is a big one, so how is the work going to be supervised?
They handle, this is one of the positive things regarding this. This company handles everything soup to nuts. They are fully responsible for everything. Not we, but in the industry you encounter very often is the contractor blames the subcontractor, blames the guy delivering the concrete. This company, and this is why we were very impressed with them when we had met with them before, is they take full responsibility from the engineering side of it to the repair side of it to the maintenance side of it. So it is, they assign one project manager, and that person we will have his phone number, and when there's any issue regarding anything pertaining to that garage, he's the one we call, and he's the one that will resolve it. That's another area I think that at least when we were interviewing people, it was increased our confidence level, because we, the borough, our engineer, and particularly our busy manager, is not going to have to run around making numerous phone calls.
And because
Go ahead.
Because they're so vertically integrated, do they provide did you feel like they provided a really good warranty on their work? Like, they're going to stand behind it because they essentially
Yes.
have to take care of it?
Yes. Because if not, yes, you hit the nail, and I do appreciate you asking these questions, because they're all good questions. Yes, because that's one of the areas of they can't hide, because that is the thing that's normally going on. As I said, people point fingers to the other contractor, and they can't do that. So when they do it, they want to get it done right the first time. Exactly. You know, and it's both to make sure they get it right the first time, but more importantly is saying that we did it right the first time. So I was very impressed. I think that, you know, and I do believe that we'll be able to get work moving relatively quickly. So.
All right, are there any other questions? I will call the question. All those in favor of awarding design, build, maintenance, and implementation work for the Ellis Street parking garage to Structure Care, DBA High Concrete, or maybe it's the other way around, but it's the same entity, for the amount of $966,850 to be paid out in 3 phases, as outlined by Councilman Robinson. Please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Just a couple quick things. Number one, as I always do every month, I want to make sure I thank our fire department for all the hard work they do and encourage anybody who would like to volunteer to go out and do so. And with that, this month at the Rose Tree Park, the Media Elementary School Parent Teachers Organization put on a program called Touch the Truck. I was very fortunate to be asked to volunteer for it, and it was one of the most exciting volunteer times that I've experienced in probably at least the last decade or two. I bring it up because our police department was there providing, showing the kids police cars, our fire company was there, our ambulance company was there, along with several thousand other people. I was volunteering making pizzas for the day with Ariana's, and we started at 20 after 10 and never stopped serving people food until 2:30 in the afternoon. I really want to do a major shout out to all the parents involved in the playground. I think if they put forth that type of effort, we will be putting that playground to work within the next year. And I'm very excited that we as a Borough Council stepped up to the plate and encouraged this. So that was really good. Secondly, I want to thank everyone with regards to the Iron Hill Brew Fest. I made sure I went over to the disc jockey and told our council president did not appreciate loud music on a Saturday afternoon.
Thank you.
And I think he was pretty good. You know.
He was, I did not hear it.
There you go. So, and last but not least, and it's just because I noticed this the other day, and I'm going to start to harp on it because it's driving me crazy, it's partly because I'm outside more, I see more people in the evening cruising through stop signs. And in the evening, it's not the person going to the courthouse, it's not the person going to dinner, it's us. It's the residents of the borough media. And I'm encouraging us to step up to the plate, and when you come to a stop sign, stop. Not slow down and cruise through, stop. And it's frustrating because I have seen on at least 5 occasions in the last 2 weeks that literally they go through and then 200 yards down they pull off and they park in front of their house and go in. You know, if we're going to be after people, you know, we need to step up to the plate and stop at our stop signs in our own town. That's enough of me screaming and hollering. It concludes my report.
Thank you, Paul. Does anyone have any questions for Paul before we move along to Councilwoman Lisa Johnson? Councilwoman?
Thank you. I have 2 mass gathering permits I'd like to present. First one is for the Memorial Day Parade that's already been advertised, but it has not yet been approved. Anybody?
Look, let me know if it doesn't work out.
Okay.
We will.
So the Memorial Day Parade, as we heard about, is on May 27th, 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. on State Street. So I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion concerning the motion? Hearing no call for discussion, all those in favor of approving the mass gathering permit application for the Memorial Day Parade, the Monday, May 27th, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. And at least I'm sure that you'll join me in encouraging all residents to come out to the Memorial Day Parade. It is a fairly well-attended parade, and it's usually it's early enough in the morning that you can attend, and do other activities later on in the day. But
And you guaranteed the weather.
I guarantee that we will have weather.
Yes, okay, good. So the second one is actually amending a mass gathering permit that we approved earlier for the 5-mile race. They want to add a rain date, so Kevin, you had mentioned, warning Aqua about the race, warn them there could be a rain date on June 28th, so I make a motion to approve the rain date as well as the regular date.
Second.
The motion has been made and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion concerning the motion?
So according to the weather people, we've had rain every Friday so far this year.
Great. I don't know what they do if they get to June 28th and it's raining. They run.
I wasn't able to,
a rain day before.
No.
No. We've come close, but never have had one.
I wasn't able to make the workshop meeting, so I'm not sure if it was discussed, then just tell me I missed it, but, I did email with a question regarding, this is it's a lot of work for the borough. It's bringing police officers in, it's bringing highway people in, all the volunteers. I have concerns that, we've never done this before. Why are we doing it now? And who's responsible for that? If they, when's the race get canceled? Who's responsible if we have 15 police officers in here waiting to go out on bikes and all of a sudden somebody goes, no. Once they're here, they're paid for 4 hours. And if they're overtime, they're getting paid double time. So I think there was a lot of questions in which I did not, I just was not saying no, but I think it's one of these tasks that I don't think is very easy to say, oh, we're just going to cancel it. I'm not a runner, but I know that months, was it last week or the week before, there was a big marathon in Philadelphia, and it was raining, and they ran. And I did take, charge of the race for well over a decade, and there was more than one Friday night that I had rain on me when we were out there, so I'm not sure if this is a good precedent to start having rain dates for something that we're shutting down the entire
Can I ask
town.
Lisa a question? Do you think that the amendment to the mass gathering permit makes it clear that whatever the expenses of the police department are covered? I mean, that's usually what they've done. So
We've always done that, yeah.
So that, as long as they recognize what he's saying, that they could have significant additional costs if they pulled the plug. I mean, so long as it's paid, Paul, I think is what you're saying, you're okay with it.
But my other concern, Peter, is there is a significant amount of volunteers. Almost every single street is shut down in the town, so you may have on your calendar, June 21st, I gotta stay home, but you're not gonna have down June 28th, and all of a sudden we have a race and we don't have the marshals. I'm truly concerned with safety. I mean, even when it's falls on the correct date, there's been several occasions where we don't have every single intersection properly manned or staffed. And I have greater concern that a week later could be an issue. I mean, we could go on. I just plan on voting no for this. I think it's a race. I mean, if it's so bad, they cancel the race and they would cancel the race. But I don't think they need to have a rain date.
Are there any other comments or questions? I will add that I did speak with Frank Daly, who I believe was one of the founders of the race, and I asked him why it is that they are now, for the first time, proposing to add a rain date to the mass gathering permit application. And he assured me that's only in the case of truly severe weather. The race committee, of course, wants the race to be run on the race date. Anybody who's run a race knows that these races come off in sometimes very inclement weather, but if we are talking about a massive windstorm or an electrical storm, it is unsafe to run that race. So he assured me that this will be invoked only under the most severe of circumstances, and it does permit the race to be run in the following week. And also, there's a financial incentive here as well. If the race is canceled, people get paid back, and there's no rain day. You have to pay people back for their entry fees. So it seems to me it's a prudent thing. I understand your comment that this hasn't been done before, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad idea to do it now. It seems to me that's a reasonable thing to do, to have a rain date in pocket.
Do most races? Because I'm not a runner, I'm going to really defer to you on this.
I've never been in a race that's been canceled because of poor weather. So I guess my answer is, I don't know, because it's never been the case, and I've never had to know.
Well, I wish I'd at least known if there were, but okay, we can go on.
I just want to make a comment that this is the 40th year for this race, and the organization that Frank and others created, they've done a magnificent job over the years of organizing this. So I have faith that they'll call the shots properly.
All right, unless there's any other comment or question, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the amended mass gathering permit application for the immediate 5 mile race to include a rain date on Friday, June 28th, which would be 1 week after the scheduled date of June 21, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay.
No.
The motion passes 6-1.
That's all I have, thanks.
Are there any questions for Councilman Lisa Johnson? Hearing none.
It wouldn't be bad, Lisa, if you did convey to the organizers some of Paul's concerns, because they're legitimate. So it would be nice for them to hear them.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the one thing, Peter, which is the one nice thing about mass gathering permits is we do hold the final card. So if they cancel, you know, it's my understanding they would pay for the night they cancel plus the second night. And if our police department feels that there is not ample safety, then we will pull the plug ourselves.
Yeah, that's always the case. Please have the last say for anything safety.
All right, any other questions for Councilman Lisa Johnson? Hearing none, we'll move along to Fair Trade, Farmers Market, Shade Tree, and the Environmental Advisory Council. Councilwoman Amy Johnson.
Thank you. Nothing this evening to vote on my agenda, but I will make a quick announcement that the Media Farmers Market began its new season last Sunday. The market sits on Edgemont Street between Front and State Street. The market has changed its hours, is now from 10 to 2 every Sunday, and there are quite a variety of new vendors this season, along with old favorites, so make sure to visit the market this coming Sunday and every Sunday moving forward until November.
This past Sunday, it was raining like
Yeah.
crazy, and they were there.
Tried.
They
Sure
were
was.
still there for Mother's Day. I felt bad for them, but hopefully this Sunday will be a sunny
We had to
day.
break camp a little early this past weekend, but I think we all remember that it was a monsoon.
That's it. That concludes my report. It's a quick one tonight.
Are there any questions for Councilman Amy Johnson? Hearing none, we'll move along to Community Development Historical Archives Review Board, our Historical Architectural Review Board, and the Media Arts Council. That's me. I've got the 2 items for action tonight. The first one is in the form of a resolution, and it's with regard to enhancements on the Plum Street Mall. Well, we are looking to apply for grant money in order to move forward with a plan to enhance our the Plum Street Mall. Plum Street Mall is the de facto center of our town. It works wonderfully well, but it has a few rough edges, and we've recognized that for a number of years. We'd like to see what other things that we can do to help improve it and make it a space that has more utility, and also it has a few more amenities to it. I make in the form of a motion that we approve Resolution 2019-22, which will allow us to apply for a DCED grant with regard to Plum Street Mall enhancements.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I'd just like to make one comment. This is a grant funding program, which is one of the benefits that come to southeastern Pennsylvania from the fracking of natural gas in the rest of the state. It's funded by what's called the, I think, Act 13 funding. So, we get pipelines, yes, but we also get funding as well.
Any other discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 2019-22 to apply for the DCED Greenways Trails and Recreation Program grant for Plum Street Mall enhancements, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Item number 2 involves a license agreement for the old Townhouse restaurant, and we have Bob Lynn here as representative of this project. And I'm sure that you can fill in some information about a potential opening date or target date for the former Townhouse restaurant. But before we get to that, let's see if we can take care of some business first. Those of you who are familiar with the Townhouse restaurant, which is pretty much everybody in this room, I take it, knows that it faced out onto Veterans Square, and there's a canvas porch or canvas covering to the front door. There is a new owner of the Townhouse restaurant, and they're looking to make modifications to the shell of the building and actually some substantive changes to the building itself. But they would like to keep that look that we have at present, which is you have an overhang over the main door. But they'd like to change the overhang from the canvas structure to something that's a little bit more substantial. In order to do that, they'll need to have a couple of columns that will sit on our right-of-way, aka our sidewalk. And they'll need to enter into a license agreement with the borough in order to do that. These columns will be in pretty much the same place and a similar configuration to the supports that are currently on the canopy. Am I correct in that, Mr. Lynn?
I don't have to say another word, perfect.
So the task here tonight is to decide whether or not to enter into such a license agreement. Of course, that will be subject to review and approval of our solicitor. Bob, Mr. Scott, do you think that also should be subject to review and approval of our engineer, or are you comfortable handling on your own?
I mean, I think that the plan drawings of this canopy should be reviewed by the engineer.
Okay, good.
What did you say?
I said that the engineer should review the design plans for the canopy. That plans are decided.
All right, so I make that in the form of a motion that we enter into a license agreement for columns in the right-of-way for the upgraded canopy at the former Townhouse Restaurant, 117 Veterans Square.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Implied in your motion is based on those specific drawings and the review of the...
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And President Hall, also your middle motion.
Okay, all those in favor of entering into a license agreement for columns in the right-of-way for upgraded canopy at former Townhouse Restaurant, 117 Veterans Square, please say aye.
Yes.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Mr. Lynn?
Yes, if you recall, we also suggested, I suggested that it was a good opportunity because there's always been a ramp and a landing and a set of steps on the upper side as well, and it's been there forever. But it seemed like a good opportunity to memorialize that as part of the license agreement, that we have two defined areas of the license agreement, because otherwise that continues to exist and has never been licensed. So we're going to incorporate, we have done drawings, and we have actually gotten delineation points and meets and bounds, if you will, of the area. So.
Is that what we just approved, Mr. Lynn?
You approved the one, I believe, was the new...
Just the smaller...
hard canopy where there used to be a vestibule protruding on the sidewalk, which is eliminated, and there was an awning with posts. We have a permit. There's a second one, Peter, where we're on the upper side, where there's currently a roof, currently a landing, currently steps. Seems like we should just as well fold that into, you know, a memorialized approval or right away, please.
So you're asking us to amend our approval now to incorporate that? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm suggesting that there's two pieces to it, and if you think that your motion has already covered it, I'm great, and I'll work with the engineer and solicitors. We always do.
I don't think it did.
I'm not clear on, you're saying two pieces. So the part that where the cloth awning used to be is going to be okay. And then where's the other, up a little further?
Well, yeah, if you recall, when you walk into the upper bar area, there's a landing and a roof and a set of steps and a ramp.
Oh, I never
It's
went in
always
the
been
bar.
there. I'm certain you didn't. In fact, I guarantee I've never seen you. It's been there probably 60 years, but the point is, it exists, it'll continue to exist, it's being reconstructed in the same footprint. We should cover it, I think, at this moment to make sure we have both parts covered forever. Plus, it's a borough liability. I mean, if it's not done correctly, if something happens in the borough right away and it's not licensed, it's not, it's not insured, et cetera, something we should cover.
Do you have an issue, Mr. Solicitor?
Mr. Scott, do you have a sort of?
I don't have any issue with what's proposed. Are you asking, do you need to amend your motion?
Well, do we need to amend the motion or make a separate motion?
That's what I do.
Do it as one. I mean, it's one license agreement for a canopy and reconstructing an existing encroachment.
What he
I'll
said.
second that amendment.
Okay, so let's see here. All those in favor of what Solicitor Scott said, please say aye.
Which is a canopy and the existing encroachment, I think, is the term that you used.
May I
Please say aye.
suggest a mild condition? That's one of the wider right-of-ways in town.
Correct.
And therefore, we have, did we talk about this already?
Yes.
We did, the street trees, okay. So let's make sure that's a part of it as well. The applicant has agreed to include some, go ahead.
Yeah, so the audience at home knows, we did this at Community Development Committee, we discussed it first, we also did the council workshop 2 weeks ago, so we've had several, this is not the first meeting this evening, and you and I thought it was an opportunity for a few street trees. You and I are going to actually place them and locate them and pick the species, if I can recall, because it's a 13-foot wide sidewalk, one of the unusual ones, because it's an 80-foot right-of-way, which is also very unusual. So it's a great opportunity for awnings, canopies, walks, ramps, and trees.
Thank you for helping me remember what we said. Is it good?
Did you settle on a number of trees, Mr. Williams?
2.
4? Up to 4 if we can fit.
And Peter, are you okay with being given the task of making the approval?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So let me take a stab at this. All those, my motion is that we enter into an agreement for a license with regard to the former Townhouse restaurant as to columns in the right-of-way, the existing encroachment, and the addition of 4 street trees conditioned upon the approvals of our solicitor, our engineer, and on Councilman Williamson.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, now I'm going to try this.
Nah, just,
Don't worry.
just tell us a vote.
Just think all in favor.
What he, she, everybody said, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Okay, it
Ayes
passes.
have it.
Thank you. It's me, I'll take care of this, okay?
And Mr. Lynn, if you are at liberty, do you have any information that you care to share with our many listeners
Yes.
about what the project might look like and when it is that folks might be able to stride through those doors that'll have this lovely canopy?
Absolutely, and as you know, it's a two-part equation. There's an owner of the building and there's a long-term tenant. So the owner of the building is leasing it to the long-term tenant. Construction's been underway for multiple months now under permit with the borough. There is one nice feature, there's going to be an outdoor dining patio wrapped around by the building of over 3,000 square feet. So there's now fresco dining opportunity outside with a street wall, so you actually don't see it from the street, but it's inside a patio. There's a very, very high-end design firm out of New York City doing some of the interiors, and I've been impressed with the images. If they come out close to what I see, I'll be delighted. They are intending to try to open part of the facility by late summer, so define late summer. And I want
August?
could be, and that's the goal, and it'll be part of the facility, the upper part, including patio. And again, I'm looking for a weather prediction for that particular opening day, if I could, because
Dry.
thank you. Okay, good. So that's the best update I do have.
Maybe you should have a rain date.
I'm going to need a mass gathering permit for patio. Thanks. So
Thank you, Mr.
that's the best update I can give you.
Thank you, we
It's
appreciate it.
progressing. Thanks for all the help you did.
All right, that's all I got.
All right, any questions for President Hall? Okay.
We'll move along then to Recreation and Board of Health, Councilman Boyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a few announcements from Rec. First of all, this will probably be the last announcement I have regarding summer camp. Enrollment has been pretty successful so far. They're up to somewhere around 30 to 31 students per week, and I think they can accommodate 35. So that would be starting the week of June 24th and proceeding through the second week of August, which I believe is August the 5th. And cost is $95 per week for borough residents and $150 per week for non-residents. And that camp includes field trips. They do go swimming. They trade off between Knowlton and there's another pool. I can't remember the name of that one. But anyway, they do trips, and it's a great time. So there are a few openings left. So if you have a student, and this is from going into first grade up through sixth grade. So if anybody's interested, there are still some openings for that. Movie nights, we're coming up to the time of the year when Rec sponsors movies on Borough Field. The first one will be June 14th. That's a Friday night because that corresponds with the elementary school's end of the year picnic. They do not know that movie at the elementary school. I think they generally vote on which movie that will be. The other two Saturdays would be July 13th and August 10th. July 13th is going to be Back to the Future, hopefully, which apparently they haven't had a lot of luck with that movie. It's been repeatedly rained out, so let's cross our fingers and hope that one actually comes off this time. And they're trying to correspond that with kind of like an 80s themed night, since it's a kind of a retro movie. Although I remember seeing it, so that's a little bit and then August 10th is the final Saturday, and that will be decided as far as the movie for that one. And then finally, the Fitness in the Park series is going to happen again. Katie Dooley has been putting together a lot of the same people from last year. There should be a schedule upcoming, but that will be beginning the week of July 9th up through the week of August 13th. So it runs for 6 weeks. And those are Tuesday nights from 7 to 8 right on the field next to the Top Lot. So as I said, that was pretty well received last year, and hopefully it will be successful again this year. And then finally, the Top Lot upgrade. Hopefully by the next legislative meeting, we'll have some final things signed, and I can give an update at that point. But things are moving forward, and hopefully we're almost at the point where we can go ahead and do that. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Does anyone have any questions for Councilman Boyer? We'll move along then to Finance and Library. Councilman Williamson.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start with some library announcements. First of all, as I've been saying, I think for a couple meetings now, we are going to be losing two very fine library board members who are the Media Borough designees to the Media Upper Providence Library Board. That's Lynn Floyd and Kelly Schaefer. But for different reasons. Kelly, for instance, is running for school board, is why she's stepped down. But my point is we need two new members. And I would very much like to have some quality members from the media community step forward so I don't have to strong-arm them, which will be my alternative. So please pay attention. Just simply submit your interest and some of your qualifications to Jeff Smith, our borough manager, and we'll take it from there. We're looking to try to fill this next month if we can, because those vacancies start in June. On a happier note, the book sale just happened, and as usual, it was a smashing success. I don't have the numbers to report, but I will after I attend the next board meeting. And for those of you that have been waiting anxiously for this, you can start donating again. It's been open since May. So please, I know I have a pile at home that I've been waiting to have the opportunity to give to the library. Now to turn to the finance. As we do every month, we ratify the bills we paid last month, starting with the general fund, from which we drew $327,250.31, from the recreation fund, $5,886.79, and from the capital fund, $87,709.76. I move approval of those April bills.
Second.
Motion's been made and has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no call for discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving payment of the bills from the general recreation and capital funds as outlined by Councilman Williamson, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
As usual, I'll give you an update on our budget. We are still fairly early in the year. The year's been tracking as it usually does. Our borough finance people are kind enough to give the finance committee a particular spreadsheet that tracks how our Act 11 taxes come in month to month, year after year. And it's an interesting, there's almost a wave pattern to it that I find very interesting. So April was a low month. So whereas before in March we were sort of ahead in revenue and behind in expense, very comfortable. April, because it was a low income month, they sort of adjusted so that they were all in balance on those. But what happened in May is May tends to be a big month, and this May is a banner month. So it looks like we have revenue paid through halfway through the year, what we expected by halfway through the year. So we're doing quite well, and our expenses, we haven't had any unpleasant surprises, so we're doing well on the expense side. So that's the general report.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Peter? Hearing no call for question, we'll move along to Personnel, Public Relations, and Historical Archives. Councilwoman Sarah Dixon.
Okay, so I have no report, however, I do. Someone asked earlier what's the most recent thing I've enjoyed in media. And I will report that last Wednesday, 45 people who are older adults joined me for Media Theater's matinee production of Saturday Night Fever. I'm going slow here. And had a wonderful time, and a few of us went out to Fellini's for dinner. And I learned a few things, like one can take the trolley into media and then walk around for the dining with friends, because that's what some of the people were doing. That indeed they even come in when there's not a dining with friends, or dining under the stars. Dining with friends is something I did also last week. They shop at, they go to the library and for the movie at the library and a few other things. So I'm finding that people are coming to media just because they love coming to media. And so I had a good time, but obviously these people had, because they told me the next day, they had a wonderful time. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Sarah?
No.
Here's one that might give you pause to think. I think every actor in Saturday Night Fever is now in that set that you just described as the older adults. Yet they live on.
Yeah, I resemble that.
All right, well, unless there are any other comments, questions, we'll move along. A public comment privilege of the floor. If there's anyone who wishes to address us now, please come to the microphone. Tell us who you are, where you live, and what's on your mind.
Hi guys, good evening. Ryan Grace, 332 West State Street. I actually have a comment and a question. I can say, first of all, as the son of two avid runners, and with a quick Google check just now, foot races are rain or shine events, and they do not typically have rain days. But I suppose media can be innovative in that regard. So my question, though, is on the topic of the night, which is parking. And I want to pivot a little bit from the Olive Street and ask about Orange Street. In the 2015 comprehensive plan, one of the recommendations was to develop the Orange Street lot. And so I'm wondering what steps have been taken, or what interest is there on the council's part in doing that, especially in light of the problems with the county line.
That's right.
I'll just make a general comment and then pitch it over to you. Yeah, I think you're right that there is a recommendation in the comprehensive plan from 2015. And it was shortly after 2015 that we were approached by the county concerning its garage and replacing it with something else. Any thought that we had about a second parking structure really was secondary to understanding what it is that the county was going to do with its garage. We still don't know what the plans are. We do know that there no longer is a garage. So that recommendation, I think, because of change in circumstances, is not something that we can follow up at present until we understand what the county's plans are going to be. Paul?
Took the words right out of my mouth.
If I can do one follow-up, I don't want to do a lot of follow-ups. If I can do one follow-up, specifically the recommendation included the idea of mixed commercial use with parking. And is that something, because that could obviously be some revenue to the borough then. Is that something that was specifically explored?
It was explored, not in any great detail, because that's kind of getting deep into the weeds, and unfortunately because of the change in circumstances, that wasn't a weed patch that we were going to be walking. It is something that is intriguing, although there are upfront costs to building such a structure, so it's not something that is immediate bell ringer in terms of earnings.
Can I make a comment?
Yes,
Can I
please.
make a comment, Paul?
Go ahead.
You know, Ryan, we all recognize we got a big parking problem. And there's a lot of moving parts, but one thing that's steady and constant through it all is that we own that Orange Street lot, and we know that that's going to be used for something related to improving the parking situation in Media. But because of the moving parts, I mean, the loss of the county garage suddenly was a major blow to a path that we were trying to proceed along, procedurally. So, we're going to figure it out, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, continuing on, is this relationship that we're working with the county. So it is, when the county first came to us, I say 10 months ago, when we first had conversations, there was some interest. Then it seems that kind of waned a little bit. The county still has not come to us with any formal plan. So I think when they come to us with a formal plan, then we have to see what type of parking that the county is proposing. And then take a look at, is there the need and a desire to build a relationship? I, as one member of council, think that it is a direction that we should continue to look at. If we're going to spend the money to build a garage, I personally like to see that garage filled from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. Part of the day with county and people visiting the borough, and at nighttime for the restaurants. I think it makes a lot of sense because as I get aggravated, even though the check is written to the county, I'm still writing the same check. So it's very smart of us to use taxpayer dollars to the best of our ability. So hopefully something will work out. But as Peter said and Brian said, a lot of it is waiting until we know what the county is wanting to do. I hope it works out that we can work on something together.
And Paul, just for clarification, the county first came to us about a replacement garage more than a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Is my recollection. Unfortunately, because of
Then
more
things
current
kind of moved in a
events.
different direction.
Yeah, things have not moved much at all since.
And I will say, because it's one of these things where it's frustrating, we keep talking about this parking. Prior to the collapse of the county parking garage, we have done studies, and is parking, we're not at a critical mass when it comes to parking. People like to say it. People like to sit there and go, well, I can't find a place to park, and that's because they have to park a block away in Media, which is 6 feet away in Center City, or they had to go around and go to the third tier of the parking garage versus pulling right in and getting a place to park. As I've referenced before, we've done analysis in the past. We never are maxed out on our parking garage, and we always have some sort of on-street parking. Is it helpful to have more to make it more beneficial and easier? Without a doubt. But it's frustrating when people who haven't done their homework come in and keep saying we're having these significant parking issues. Once again, the parking issue is when there was a collapse of an employer's parking garage that is causing the main strain on parking right now in the borough.
Well, I promise I won't follow. So thank you, guys.
There you go. Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Anybody else wish to address us at this time? Tell us who you are, where you live, and what's on your mind.
Michael Straw, 499 West Jefferson Street, apartment 507. There was one thing I wanted to mention. It's near and dear to my heart. As I have noticed that the month of June is approaching, and the month of June is Pride Month. And
Is what?
Pride Month for the LGBTQ community, of which I am a part of. As an openly gay man, I just wanted to ask the borough if it would be possible, if we could possibly put in a proclamation for the next month's meeting or so, maybe at the workshop, to announce that it is Pride Month in Media Borough, essentially.
Michael, do you have an organization that could offer us some sort of template resolution? An organization that organizes that month?
But I don't, but I know that from a previous borough that I lived in, State College Borough, they had a resolution that they had done. And then there's also a couple of statewide LGBTQ organizations that could probably provide one if the borough contacted them. And I could send you the websites if you'd like.
Appreciate it.
I mean, it's something that I think would really just, bring light to the LGBTQ community in Media Borough.
Cool.
Right, thank you.
We'd be happy to do it, but, the best resolution would probably be the examples you provide, so.
I would be more than willing.
Good, thanks.
All right, does anybody else wish to address council at this time?
Before we adjourn, I just wanted to make one comment. I should have brought it earlier. May 29th, Dining Under the Stars is World Water Day, and State Representative Quinn is going to be having with Aqua some activities on the north side of State Street on Veterans Square. Also some information, what we intend on or plan on doing, met with some members of his staff today, is a little bit of background on what it is we hope to get generated on a sheet of paper and have enough of it to go hand out to the restaurants. While people are waiting to get their dinners, they have plenty of time, so they'll have an opportunity to read it. With that in mind, I hope that we as a council will continue to work with the restaurants and get nonprofits in front of the Dining Under the Stars people for the rest of the summer. They're there's 4,000 or 5,000 people. There's a ton of nonprofits that don't have the ability or capability of doing it. And I'd like to, I'll take the lead on it and try to work with some other nonprofits to get out there and get recognized. But May 29th, World Water Day, State Representative Quinn.
Thank you. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Have a good Memorial Day.
Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned. Good night, folks. See you next month.